Yeah. What's up, everybody? This is the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, Arkatech Beatz, and I am Jugrnaut,
I am Mike Trauma D.
and we are Arkatech Beatz. We are platinum producers who give music industry or music business
Mm-hmm.
tips, insights, secrets to artists, producers, songwriters, singers. So if it's your first time here, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. We do a little bit of a housekeeping. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't set up the notifications, if you haven't followed, now is the time to do that. And we appreciate that. So let's get into this. This episode today, we wanted to talk about a few things. The first thing that we wanted to talk about, well, let me just line out what we want to talk about today so folks kind of know what's going on. Well, first thing we want to talk about is lease beats versus exclusive beat rights. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
lease rights for beats and tracks and exclusive beats and rights. And we want to kind of differentiate the two, pros and cons, so forth and so on. The second thing that we're going to talk about today is going to be on the pros and cons of artist features and how you should position yourself to get your features and how it can help your career or not help your career. And also how it pertains to producers and how they should go about either getting features or becoming featured artists themselves. So
Listen
let's
up.
get let's get into it. Let's get into it. So we want to talk about the first thing really is this lease versus exclusives. So let's explain to the people what that is. Lease beats versus exclusive beats, and who should be interested in it and why.
Well, the lease beats situation. Lease beats. You're an artist. You're looking to get some tracks from a producer, and you will have the option of sometimes either leasing a beat from them or getting an exclusive. Now, when you lease a beat, just realize that the producer could be leasing that same beat to other artists as well. So it's not an exclusive, meaning you're not the only one that gets that beat. If it's an exclusive beat, it's exclusive to you. You know, there's some additional terms and things behind the scenes that go along with that as well. For a lease beat, you may be able to only use it for certain things, certain platforms. There's a whole lot of stipulations behind it, depending on the producer. You may be only to use it to sell a certain amount of copies. You may not get the actual stems. It might be only a stereo mix. So there's so many different ways as far as lease beats are concerned. So whenever you're dealing with a producer and you're interested in leasing a beat, find out exactly what that entails, because for a lot of producers it's slightly different, and you want to make sure that whatever you need the lease beat for, you can actually use it for. Exclusive, that has a whole lot more leeway. You're able to use it for a whole lot more. You may get this actual stems so that you can mix it yourself. Again, that's another situation where you have to talk to the producer and find out exactly what the what exclusive rights do you have, when it comes to that.
Yeah. So just for folks who don't understand what stems are when you have a production where all of the instruments are separated track for track. So you might have the kick on one thing, the snare, the hi hat, the
Right,
drums,
right.
the piano, so forth and so on. I know sometimes we get into producer jargon, folks get lost.
And
Um,
you use the stems to help you mix the actual record, so
right.
you can EQ each sound individually before putting it all together and doing the actual overall mix.
So when we talk about the lease situation and we talk about artists leasing beats,
Hmm.
the 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 thing I want artists to understand when we talk about leasing beats is lease beats are for you to test the market,
Hmm.
right? One to get yourself better in terms of your craft. Two, to test the market, right? Because you want to see what the people are going to how the people are going to resonate or respond to your music before you take your entire bag and invest it in a song. Like that's really the whole thing with leasing beats. And once you're able to kind of test the market, kind of release it on a small scale, see what the response is, see if it's starting to resonate with fans, see if it can generate some income.
Hmm.
That's when you should go back and say, okay, it's generating some income. I need to get this beat exclusively so that now I can put my bag behind it. The only problem with that is it's first come first serve.
Now, also, leasing a beat also is for the artist that's also just trying to find their voice. They're trying to find the sound that's going to work for them. You know, they're trying to figure out which beat works best, what direction they're trying to go. So it's a good way to test, where you are, how you sound, it's a good way to, okay, let me see how I flow on a record, so it is a testing grounds to say, and it's also a less expensive way of doing it. Some people lease their beats $50, $100, some higher, maybe 1,000. But exclusive beats are usually a lot more expensive, and they could range anywhere, upwards 1,500 to 3 grand, 5 grand. I've seen
Right.
an exclusive for 10 grand. So it also depends on what your goal is and where your budget is. You know, so once you figure that part out, then you could decide if leasing is best for you or if an exclusive is best for you.
The other thing about leasing, like you said, is like you said, define your voice. Find what sounds good.
Hmm.
Also, to find your producer, right? Like
Right.
it's like if you're able to lease beats from different producers, you'll kind of know who kind of you get an idea of who works for you and what works for you. And also, um, the leasing of beats also is a way for you to develop a relationship with the producer as well. Depending on which platform you're using. Some platforms you're able to exchange personal information as far as emails and so forth and so on. And they can hear what you did, and
Right.
sometimes you can develop the relationship with your producer that way. Sometimes that's the barrier of entry. Is you
Hmm.
got to do business with folks a few times, and then you may be able to open up the gates if folks feel like you have the talent to kind of
Yeah.
move the needle a little bit. So when we're doing exclusive stuff, exclusive, like you said, should be relegated to people who are ready to put the money behind the record.
Right. Right.
Once you're ready to take this to market, once you're ready now to say, okay, I'm going to promote this record, I'm going to put the bag behind this record. That should be you shouldn't do that on Lease Beats.
Yeah. People make there are artists that make that mistake. Like we've seen it. They lease a beat, and for some reason, just because it's hot, they kind of feel like they own the record now, and they go put it out. They put money behind it, and if the producer is smart, he could actually use that as leverage to really command, a whole lot more than he would initially charged. There are times when the producer won't even clear it. They'll just they'll just content ID it and just sit back and collect off of your hard work. And at the same time, they're sending that same beat out to 20 other producers. So you really got to be smart on how you pick these beats and how you use them, and most important, be in contact with the actual producer, so what's what, how to use them, what to expect. You got to do your due diligence, because a lot of producers do work a whole lot different. There's a whole lot of different platforms out there. You got to read the fine print. The same thing we were saying earlier with the beat packs. You got to read the fine print. If you don't read the fine print, if you don't take your time to do the due diligence in this craft, in this business you're trying to get into, you will be taken for a ride. And in this game, the money pit is pretty big.
So I'm over here and I'm grinning because I'm trying not to laugh because it's we see it happening so often where you take this track, you only have lease rights, You're putting all this money behind this record,
Money pit.
videos.
You
You're paying for
just
promotion. You're paying
spending the
for
money.
websites,
Hmm.
World Star, blah. All this stuff. The producer has not given you the rights to move this record, and if they want to, they don't have to negotiate anything with you. They can take 100% of that record.
Yep. Yep.
You can
Absolutely.
literally be promoting that record and get zero return.
Yep. And then they could turn around and go sell that record someplace else.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I notice happening way too often. It's like, listen, you're supposed to test the record out. You're supposed to do the test the records out on a small scale, so that I'm giving away the game. I'm sorry, producers. I'm sorry, so that the producers don't realize the value and use it as leverage in negotiations, because that's what's going to happen. If we find out that a record that you lease from us is now popping, what do you think is going to happen when it's time to negotiate for that exclusive right? We're going to want the farm.
That's if you're doing it behind our back. You know, if if you're up front and what you need to do as an artist is form relationships with these
Right.
producers. You gotta, like, that's the relationships. It's back to relationships. You gotta have relationships. Artists have relationships with these producers. The producers are the ones that are giving you these records and giving you the backdrop. It only makes sense to have a good relationship with these producers. So once you have a good relationship and you know what's what, you know how to use these records, you know the criteria, then it makes your job a whole lot easier. It takes the guesswork out of, okay, am I going to be able to get this cleared? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to perform this record? Am I going to be able to release this if I for a distribution deal? It takes all the guesswork out of that. So you guys got to ask the questions. You got to contact these producers and find out what it is, and have it in writing, have it in the email, have it in the text, so you could always refer back to it if later on down the line there's someone forgets there's something's going on. You could refer back to it like, nah, you said this. This is what we agreed to, and so forth.
So again, lease beats, those can be resold. You don't have exclusive rights over that. Those have limited usage. Those are pretty much for you to hone your craft, get your craft good, test the market, right? Exclusive beats are now those beats that you're ready to release for commercial sale. Beats that you're trying to, records that you're trying to make for profit. Those are the things that those are the beats that you want to gravitate to. Now, on the producer end, when should the producer decide to sell their beats exclusively, if at all?
If the producer decides to sell the beat exclusively, then all bets are off with the with the leases, because the record is now an exclusive to somebody. So all those leases are on a short time frame. So if someone decides to buy that record exclusively, then that deal, it kind of just it voids out the situation with the lease piece, because that also needs to be a stipulation in the agreement. They need to let you guys know that if a lease beat is sold exclusively, your lease is now void. You know,
Yep.
some producers will separate and say, well, this stash over here is exclusive, and this stash over here is lease. But for the majority of producers, that they're not trying to do all of that. They're just gonna have all of these beats, lease exclusive, whoever picks what, and they're gonna go to that.
And then the other issue too with the lease with exclusives with producers, you have to make sure that you still are retaining some of your rights. Right?
Hmm.
If you sell a beat exclusively to someone, I own it outright. Once I
Right.
own it, once I own it outright, there's no royalties for you.
Exactly.
There's no publishing for you.
Hmm.
Right?
If you sell us your master, it's no longer your
It's
master.
no
That's
longer
it.
your master. It's gone.
It's gone.
And then I can do what you become a work for hire, right?
Hmm.
And I can do whatever I want to do with your master,
Hmm.
right? Now, in a traditional record deal sense, you do get a work for hire, but then there's a royalty that's attached to it. So you get a royalty in perpetuity, and in most cases, you will get your publishing and sound exchange, etc. Right?
Right.
That's in a traditional record deal sense,
Hmm.
or record producer contract. But if you're
Right.
not getting one of those, like if you're just working through like a BeatStars, Airbits, Track Train, whatever that might be,
Right.
then those exclusive rights, they're being sold, and then they're
Right.
gone, right? So now I've heard some things about predatory, exclusive right buying, right? You had a lot of guys that was going around buying exclusive rights for guys for little to no money,
Hmm.
taking the rights of their music, then making compilations, putting them on Spotify, and making a whole bunch of money,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's different kind of instrumentals or meditation,
Right. Yeah.
So depending on what the genre of music was. So again, that's the other side of the hustle. Like you might, it's always exciting to sell your first track if you're a producer, to sell your first beat.
Hmm.
But you have to realize that music now, in today's landscape, when we're talking about TikTok, reels, shorts, like we're talking about billions of videos being made. And all of those videos need what? Sounds,
Yeah. Yeah.
music.
Music.
So the people who are creating the music now, it's going to become a lot more valuable than people would like to think. So I need producers to change their mind frame and say, okay, that old model of selling beats for little to nothing, um, probably worked in the past, but you may be selling yourself short in the
Right.
future as new technology starts to evolve.
Know your worth.
You got to know it. So we're gonna pivot a little bit. Let's talk about artist features,
Okay.
right? Uh,
Yeah.
Artist features, why you want to get them, how do you get them, what's the benefit, and sometimes the benefits aren't what the benefits. Sometimes what the benefits you think are,
Yeah.
there really aren't there any benefits.
Yeah. You get a rude awakening.
You get a rude
But
awakening. So
man, Jug, I remember man, just being a fan of hip hop and how it felt when you heard your favorite artist, and then all of a sudden that second verse came on with your other favorite artist, and it was just a creative, like, wow, oh, this is hot, this is dope. And like that was a big deal, when people collaborate. Nowadays, everyone's collaborating, and it's no longer done for a creative record. It's done specifically for marketing, for promotion, for increasing one's network, I used to say. So that leads to what's the benefit of getting a feature? Well, the benefit of getting a feature is what you're hoping to do is to expose yourself, your music, your sound to the featured artist um, audience. If this audience, if this artist has 1 million fans and you only have 20,000 fans, by getting a feature, you're hoping to put yourself in front of those 1 million fans, and coming back with a certain percent of that to listen to your music. So that's what really is the purpose now, of getting a feature. You want that approval also. For example, again, a Drake feature, has done wonders for independent artists and has taken artists that nobody knows into, through the
superstardom.
roof. You
They call it. They,
superstardom, number
they call it.
ones, and all that.
They
Like,
call it. They call it the stimulus package. The Drake stimulus package.
right. So
Yeah.
a really good feature that makes sense, from the right person can really help your career if it's done correctly, if the business is correct, and of course you have everything lined up properly.
It's a great situation. It could be a great tool if like you said, done properly.
Right.
Um, there are costs sometimes with features, but
Hmm.
it goes back to relationships, like we said before. If you have good relationships, features may not cost. a lot, or it may not cost you at all. Sometimes
Right.
you just trade a feature for a feature,
Right.
right? Or in our case, sometimes we've traded features for tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've
Right.
done that before, where we say, "Hey, give me a feature here. We'll give you some tracks, and vice versa."
Right.
Um, because you still have to have some sort of bartering value in order to kind of get the feature. So if you're a new artist and you don't have a relationship with an artist that you're trying to get in front of their audience, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. If you don't have a relationship, it may cost you. Now, what's that price? That price can be anywhere between what?
Well, it depends on if it's a known or
Depends on
platinum
the
artist.
artist, right?
You know.
1,500 at some points. You know, I've seen as low as 1,500, and I've seen as high as $250,000.
Well, it really depends. It depends on so many factors. It depends if you have a relationship. It depends if the record is any good, if it's beneficial also for the featured artist, if the featured artist even likes you, or if they even heard of you before. So there's so many things that go along with it. The featured artist may be like, this is not beneficial for my career at all. It's you know, and may say, you know what, I need a crazy number to even consider doing it. And then even if they do it, then the record label could always stop any type of promotion behind it after. They could
Yep.
always say you can't release that, or you don't got any video rights. You can't put it out, So you have to make sure, like, after even you get the feature, you got to make sure that you could even use it. And there's recently, there's artists that would say, yeah, you could do the feature, and they won't even promote it. You you would
So
hope that if they do a feature with you, that they're promoted on their platform. There's plenty of times they don't do that,
they don't do
and
that. So let's expound on that. Like no, let's expound on that. Let's
yeah,
expound on what people should be looking for when negotiating a feature, because you said a lot. Will the label approve it? Will you be able to appear in the video? Will you be able to um, promote it on your social media platforms?
right,
If you are going to promote it, how many times?
right. With the
What's
artist,
what's the duration? You
with,
know what I'm
with the
saying? So
artist
like,
promoted on their platform as well.
right, right. So like, let's talk about that. So when we're saying, okay, say you do get the feature, what are some of the things that folks need to make sure that they're negotiating in the terms of the feature to make sure that they can maximize it out?
They need to negotiate that they could have single rights. What that means is that they will have the right to be able to put that record out as a single. They need to negotiate video rights, video feature rights, so that if they decide to shoot a video, that the artist will make themselves available or somehow to be part of the video. You should also negotiate the artist is promoting it. You need to make sure that, if they're going to put it on their platform, they're going to tweet it, they're going to put it on their IG, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that, you're getting the full promotion, because that is the purpose of getting the feature, so that you could be on their platform and be in front of their audience as well. You know, you want to make sure that you contact someone for the actual record label, and get an idea of if they'll be able to clear the record. That's another thing, because the record label could come in and be like, no, we have this artist scheduled to come out with a single, and we don't need anything interfering with that. So you want to do all of these things to make sure that you're able to benefit off of this record properly.
And additionally, there may be additional fees. The label might want additional clearance monies after you've already paid the artist. So you
Yeah.
can pay the artist one set of monies for all of those things that you just mentioned, and then the
Hmm.
label wants to come back and say, "Hey, we still need to get out of jail free money. You're messing with our release schedule, and it's going to cost us X amount of dollars. We need to recoup that."
Right.
So that can be the other situation.
Yeah.
And then there was another point that I wanted to talk on with the feature, but oh, when we're talking about the features as well, it's important for artists to know that there's a difference between a feature and a collaboration.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So a feature, when you drop a record and it has a feature, it doesn't it doesn't show up in the collaborating artist feed on Spotify as their new music or their new release.
Hmm.
It only shows up for them as featured on.
Right.
So if you're trying to get the benefit of the new release radar and all of those algorithmic things that Spotify does,
Hmm.
if it's not labeled as a, say, a Dirk and 21 Savage versus a Dirk featuring 21 Savage,
Right.
excuse me, because what that does is that helps to it changes it changes the reach. So
Yeah.
when you're just featured, you're not going to be notified as a fan of the new
Right.
release.
Of the new release. Right. There's certain categories that you lose out on.
Right. So if you're a collaborating artist and it's basically it's a dual release, because that's what it turns into now. Now it turns into
Both audiences are notified.
both audiences are notified of the pending release, and when it
Right.
does come out, then it's pushed out in that fashion. That's the only way you're going to be able to really maximize the use of a feature in that regard.
Right.
So just something for artists to kind of pay attention to and make sure that they're paying attention to that part as well. So we said that the pros are it'll give you some extra reach, get you in
Yeah.
front of get you in front of the other artists. It could cost you,
Right.
you know. Some features are worth paying for. Some
And some
features aren't worth paying for.
you could end up paying a whole lot of money and you can't put it out. The artist doesn't promote it. They just came, took the money and ran, and you're left with a record you can't do too much with. And I've seen that. We've seen that time and time again.
So let's also break something else down, right? And maybe I may be diving in too deep, but this is the Arkatech Beat Music Business Podcast, and
That's
this
what
is
it
what we
is.
do. We dive deep,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
When does a feature actually make sense versus it not making sense? And I have my thought on when a feature should make sense, but I want to pass you first. Like, when does it really make sense for an artist to do a feature? Because what I see happening is that all of these artists are verified and all of them are offering a feature, right?
Right.
New and old, right? So,
Right.
it's part of the money game. It's
Right.
part of the income stream. So as a new artist,
Hmm.
what are you supposed to be looking for a feature to be truly beneficial to you before you come out your bag?
And you gotta really see what are you getting out of it, like tangible. What are you really getting out of it? And let's be for real. If you're an upcoming artist with 50 fans, and one of these featured big names coming to see you and says, "Hey, we want to feature, we want to work with you and this and that," you got to be kind of skeptical. If you're an artist that hasn't been doing any buzz, you haven't got anything going on really, got 50 fans, there's a good chance that this could be a money grab. And you got to be really realistic of the situation. You got to look around and see the worth of what you've done or what you haven't done. Because a lot of times, you know, these emails are coming through. These DMs are popping up saying, "Hey, contact us. You want to feature? Let's work. Let's work." All right, and you reach out, and they charge you, and then you thinking you getting a feature or you getting this or you getting that, and you get a little something and no support. So first you just gotta really, really look at your situation, know what you're actually getting, and once you get it, knowing that you could actually use it, you can utilize it. Is it going to be a step up? What's it going to do for you? You got to think about what goal are you trying to reach, and work towards that. Are you trying to get more audience? Are you trying to use this to get more press? Are you trying to use this to get on the radio or something? Are you trying to use this to get verified on certain platforms? Or are you trying to use this for just more content? You gotta figure out exactly the goal, and be able to know that you're going to get this, and hit that goal. If you can't guarantee you ain't gonna hit any of these goals, then you could just forget about it. You gotta be able to, if you're gonna spend the money, you gotta guarantee something has to be guaranteed. And in this game, in this music business, just
ain't
about almost
ain't much guarantee, baby.
ain't much guaranteed. So you have to scale it and find something that's actually that you could say, okay, I hit this number, I got this from it, and go from there.
And that's the thing when you say that thing that you're looking for. The thing that I would like artists to look for when we're talking about trying to decide what features you're going to do. Most artists are on two trajectories, or maybe should I say three? Either they're ascending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rapidly or slowly, but still ascending.
Mm-hmm.
Either they're descending on the decline,
Mm-hmm.
or they've plateaued.
Okay. Right.
Right. Your job is to find a feature that's for an artist that either is plateaued
Mm-hmm.
or is ascending.
Right.
For you to run after a feature for someone who's on a decline, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to help you. You know, it's the thing about most features and collaborations is that if the smart artist would get the feature very early before the artist starts to really take off.
Right.
Hold the feature, right? Hold the feature
Mm-hmm.
for the right time. When they see that the resources and say the other artist now really starts to, you see the marketing machine behind that artist, that's when you're supposed to capitalize off your feature because that artist is now has all of the major dollars behind it and you can ride that wave. If that's not happening, it's 9 times out of 10 you got a feature that's going to be useless to you.
Yeah. And you're just pretty much doing it for vanity.
Just for vanity, just to feel good,
Yeah.
and some sort of false sense of validation. The days of being validated by features are over.
Unless it's a Drake.
Unless it's the stimmy package.
Unless it's a stimmy.
Unless it's the stimmy package. You know what I'm saying?
But realistically, what are the chances of that for for
unknown artists?
For unknown artists
who hasn't generated any of their own buzz.
Right. It's very
for an
slim.
unknown artist that hasn't generated their own buzz, stimulus
Slim
package can't help you either.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the stimulus package doesn't always make artists pop the way you think they make pop.
Right.
Like sometimes you would say, "Damn, they got a Drake feature. How come they didn't pop off?" You know,
Yes.
sometimes they may have relied too heavily on that and didn't do enough legwork, or sometimes the audience don't cross.
Mm-hmm. Or it jumps up for a brief moment and then it just
dissipates,
falls off.
Right. Because then that's one of those situations where the feature didn't make sense, that your audiences aren't similar enough. Right. And you're on conscious rap, this one is on gangster rap, and then you're trying to do this feature together, and it just sounds like outdated self-destruction video record, and it doesn't.
You're dating yourself.
Just outdated. I'm just saying, I'm just saying I was young when they came out. I'm just saying. So, but you know what I'm saying when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like make the feature make sense. Let's benefit from it mutually.
Yeah, and it got to work for you. It got to work.
Yeah, we've seen some bad features in our day.
Real bad ones.
Some real bad ones.
Made no sense.
Creatively,
it wasn't good.
Musically, it wasn't good.
It just wasn't good, and it made no sense on a marketing level, and it didn't do anything to help the main artist, move any units or gain any additional audience or shine. So it has to make sense, and it has to be quantifiable. You have to know, okay, I got this from it. You got to know that once this record is gone, what did you get from it? Even if you got a press release, some press, even if you got a verified Spotify channel, verified on your social media, you have to aim for something specific, and it has to be like something that is tangible, something that it could reach. You can't say, well, I just want to be hot. Like, how do you
do that?
How do you measure that?
Right.
So, you have to be very selective and save your money. Because like I said before, this music business can be a huge money pit, and you're tossing your money in, hoping for something. And look, you can't take any shortcuts. You can't always pay for the shortcut. You have to grind. You got to work hard, and you got to put your money in the right places. If you don't do that, then you good luck.
We're trying to keep it real. I know some people don't want to hear that. Like, so they don't want to hear, like, listen, when we say a money pit, I like to refer to it as a black hole.
Yeah,
Some people
black.
call
Yeah,
it money like that money is going into another dimension. And it's like that thing is gone, man. Like
yeah.
and a lot of artists don't see an ROI.
That's return on your
Return
investment.
on investment. Like a lot of artists don't see it. And again, I think a lot of the money is always put into things that do not move the needle,
Yeah,
versus, you know, making sure one, you have the best product, and then number two, making sure you have enough money to promote it.
and then you got too many sharks out here saying, "Hey, come do this with me. Come do me." Steering you the wrong way. And this is the Arkatech Beatz music business platform, and we're trying to give you this information for
Try
free.
to give information, try to help you save some
We're trying
time
to
and
save some time, save some
save
money.
some money,
You
because that's
know,
exactly what will happen. You'll be in a situation where you're asking to do these things, and you know what you'll find is that there are, like you said, a lot of charlatans, a lot of scammers, people out here that's offering the world, and no one can give you a guarantee in this business, and anyone that does is a liar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's no guarantees here. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some things that you can put as far as tangible results, but not
Hmm.
many things you can put as tangible results on, your music, because it's up to the fans, and fans are fickle. Once you
Yeah.
put the music out, it can go. Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it doesn't go not so good, mediocre, and then you got to just take the data and learn from it.
And learn from it. Absolutely.
But on a different note, we flip back again to the producers,
Mm.
and the producers need to make sure that they are releasing music for themselves.
Right.
And we'll tell you why you need to release it for yourselves, because it's like this. You need to establish yourself not just as a producer, but also as an artist.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
every producer and beat maker out there, listen clearly. You got to treat yourself like you're a DJ Khaled
Yeah.
or a Pharrell or a Swiss Beats. You got to treat yourself
Yeah.
that way, right?
Yep.
That you're an artist, even if you don't rap, even if you don't sing, right? You're
Even if you don't
still
say a,
you're,
even if you don't say a
if you don't
word.
say a word, you don't have to say it's another one or God did. You don't got to do any of that. You just got to make sure that you are. You have to treat yourself as an artist, and you have to release your music on one of these DSPs, um, to make sure that you have some music that's out under
Hmm.
your moniker, right? So
Right.
if your name is Arkatech Beatz, I should be able to go into Spotify and see an Arkatech Beatz um,
Catalog.
profile,
All of that.
catalog, so forth and
Everything.
so on.
Hmm.
Every producer needs to release at least one release that way,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So that you can have a fingerprint on the internet. People have a place to find you for your music. Now, when you're out here and you're placing music with different artists and you're getting
Listen
music
up.
released,
Listen up.
right?
This is important.
Okay. You don't have to settle for producer credit. What you should be trying to push for, if you can, and some artists won't allow it. But what producers need to be pushing for now is it need to be artists featuring producer,
Right.
or artist featuring producer,
Right.
or
Or or
artist
collab.
and producer.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's how the thing should read. So if you go to some of our social media or some of our situation, you might see um, Architect Beats and Raekwon, or you
Right.
might see Architect Beats and
Max
Bria
B.
Lee, right? Or
Hmm.
Architect Beats featuring Max B featuring Architect Beats.
Right.
Like you have to make sure that you have a feature, or you have to be as a featured artist on this. And what this helps to do for you is it helps for people to find you. These
Right.
folks are not looking in the credits to see who produced it.
It's too hard. It's too difficult,
It's too
man.
difficult.
Who produced this? You gotta go through this and click this
Yeah.
button. They ain't doing that.
They ain't doing that. And you have to be able to find a way to get yourself branded so that work can beget more work. So if you're not branded in that fashion, you're cutting yourself short. Right. The other situation too is that you don't have control over producer tags. Right.
Yeah,
When artists are releasing things exclusively, most times they're not doing it like how we used to do it in the days where we used to have to mix the record. Right. That used to be part of our contract that we would have to be required to be there to mix our record,
right,
or we had to pick who mixed it for us, right?
right.
Like you just couldn't just do it. And then, you know, engineers are removing tags.
Yeah, they're
You know,
removing
as
tags.
some engineers are putting in their own tags.
Yeah, yeah. The days of just relying, like the whole producer tax thing, was always a great idea. But now it's like we cannot solely just rely on that alone.
No,
We have to continue to do more. And putting your name right next to the artist is a very good way of making sure your name is good.
it's
It's
out
good for your
there.
brand.
It's good for your brand.
It's good for your brand. And you know to be able to go into Spotify and see your names and be able to see compare it to other things and suggestions and like it helps a lot. When an artist record is being played on Spotify, you see your name in some of the suggested areas.
Yep.
When the
Yeah.
artist when the artist's name and your name is next to each other's features, when the artist drops something, it'll alert their audience of the name, the title.
Yeah.
So now your name is being circulated.
And
Um,
promote it.
exactly.
And
So
that
this is
and
this
that's part of
these
the
are the
game.
helpful tips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's part of the game. Like, you can't rely on you can't rely on it to be found. That's the one thing that I would like to tell producers now is that those days of waiting for someone to do a write up on you or someone to say this person produced this, like those days are pretty much over. And also, when we're talking about producer tags, like a lot of producer tags are really indistinguishable, if we're being honest.
right,
So that's a whole nother situation. So if we can get your name on the record, we're not saying that you can always get this to happen,
right.
but in the cases where you can, you try to do that. you
And
know
also by doing that, there's certain hurdles that you jump over contractually. Certain ways of getting paid, that certain hurdles in that it jumps over things you don't have to no longer wait for because you're now an artist. So now you're entitled to certain things. um I believe Sound Exchange.
Absolutely, because Sound Exchange still works with that whole letter of direction thing, and it's all controlled by the artist and label.
Right, so if
It's
you're an artist
so
now.
if you're an artist, then you kind of circumvent that.
Right,
But if you're just a producer, your name is not on the record. Like, and if when your name isn't on the record, it creates a lot of problems, especially um, when you can be credited incorrectly or not credited at all. We see that happening a lot where you're not credited at all.
right, right.
You know, so
Yep,
so so again, what we say put out a record.
yep.
Either you do it through TuneCore, DistroKid, whatever just CD Baby, whatever it is, you put it out,
Hmm.
and then what's the other one? United Masters, right?
Right.
Any of those, you put it out. Um, Make sure that you have your name on it. Make sure you have your Spotify profiles, any other Apple Music profiles. Make sure those things are all claimed.
Yeah,
Make sure your
yeah.
music is copyrighted,
Refer
right?
back to our last
Right,
podcast.
refer back to the last one. Make sure your music is copyrighted. In
Hmm.
the case of TuneCore and the other ones, make sure you check off that box for YouTube Content ID,
Yep.
right? And then now you have your first release, and now you are quote unquote an artist.
Right.
and keep yourself referred to as an artist. So
as an
sometimes
artist.
we may say artists, and we don't say artists and producers. We like to treat them in unison. We are artists. You
Yeah,
know, what we create is art. Don't be fooled that because you don't rap or sing that you're not an artist. You
right.
know, that's
And
not
you have
the
to
case here.
and you have to promote yourself as an artist.
Yep,
You know, the
that's
same
just
way it's the days of just doing your beats and sitting back. You know, after no, you gotta do the legwork after that. You gotta promote yourself as if you're up there singing, rapping, whatever. You got to get out there, meet and greet the same way. You got to get out there and promote the records as if you're the main artist that put it out. You
right.
know, and if you're really smart, you know, you get these video clips, you get all of this content to help promote it, you know, and to make sure that like for example, there's things that we've done on our own just to make sure that we promote ourselves and people know who we are, you know, and
Right.
you got to take the initiative to do that because the artist, the artist is going to be the other artists are going to do what they're going to do. You have to take it upon yourself to say, you know what, I need to make sure everyone knows I'm part of this record. You know, if I have to hire this person and that person and get press releases and you know sort out interviews and all of these things, you have to promote yourself as an artist. If you're a producer, you're an artist. Remember that.
These are the jewels that no one is going to talk about. Like you have to do that. Like that this is a new age. A different way of doing business. Social media can make you overnight.
Hmm.
So the main thing that you want to make sure of is that if your music is going to take off, you got to make sure people can find you. For God's sake,
Yeah,
it's like come on, man. Like don't put
yeah,
yourself in a situation where people can't find you and then you can't capitalize, right? Because these opportunities don't come often.
right. I mean, and that's the actual purpose. This is the purpose of promoting yourself is so you could also use this as leverage in creating other opportunities or making yourself visible so these opportunities could actually find you, you know. And that's key because, you know, in this music business, the way it's going now, you know, the bag you're getting is not just from music itself. It's from all of these other opportunities that's popping up, and there's tons of them. I'm talking sponsorships. We're talking about different types of deals. We're talking about TV. We're talking about just the list goes on. So in order to capitalize on these opportunities, you have to promote yourself, promote your brand, and as a producer, you have to promote yourself as a brand, promote yourself as an artist.
That's what's up. That's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast, folks. You know what I mean? That's the jewels of the day. Um, a few things for folks to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to start doing some lives where we are going to be doing music reviews.
Yep.
So we're going to put out some posts where we'll be promoting when we'll be doing the lives and when we'll be taking the submissions and
Mm-hmm.
how to do that. And we'll be just reviewing a few people's records or beats
Yeah.
and give the live feedback so the audience can kind of get an idea of what to look for, how to improve, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And then
We'll do some Q&As.
also we're looking to do a live Q&A
Yeah.
where we'll either do a Twitter space or we'll maybe either do a Facebook or
Facebook.
YouTube live.
Right.
And
This would be the opportunity
maybe a TikTok,
this would be the opportunity to ask us some questions face to face, ask some questions, you know, talk to us,
right.
get some feedback on just about anything in the music business, or even you know, you might even hear some old hip hop stories, you know, with some of the artists that we worked with and some.
Them folks ain't ready for these kind of stories, man. Listen, there's some real history, man. If you're talking about we're talking about some of the greatest rap artists of all time
Hmm.
that have basically crafted the culture that we have today.
Yeah.
So look out for that, folks. Look out for that.
Yeah.
But that's the podcast. Make sure that you're following us on all social media platforms, right? On everything.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Arkatech Beatz.
Arkatech Beatz, TikTok, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Twitter. I think we even on Pinterest, right? We're on everything. You know what I'm saying? But just listen to the podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. You know,
Yeah, and let
for
us know
the
what you think. Let us know what you
and let
think
us
about
know
these
what you
topics.
think. What you think
Hit
about
us
these
up.
topics? Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
shoot us the DMs. LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. You know,
Yeah, and if you have a topic you want us to discuss or mention, reach out to us, shoot it to us, and we'll definitely look to talk on it and expound on it.
that's what's up, man. All right, till next time, folks.
Peace.
Peace.